Welcome, everybody. We are going to go ahead and get started now. Thank you for your patience and waiting. Just wanted to take an opportunity to thank you guys for taking your morning, or if you're on the East Coast, your afternoon, early afternoon, to spend some time with Nate and myself as we conduct this live training. I wanted to take a brief opportunity and just introduce my good friend, Nate. He's also my business partner. Nate, can you tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. My name's Nate Johnson. I am Ben's partner in Fly Plugins and WP Courseware, S3 Media Maestro, Churnly, the products that we take care of there. I've had the pleasure of working with him since about 2012. I'm just outside of Boulder, Colorado. So live here, have two kiddos, love the outdoors, everything. Yeah. Skiing, biking, all that good stuff. Of course, not much of that right now, but we can sit indoors and dream about it. But yeah, that's me. How about you, Ben?
So, yep, everybody, I'm Ben, and I'm business partners here with Nate. Nate and I started our online business back in, well, actually, our very first one was, I think, in 2009 or 2010-ish, right around there.
Right.
But Nate and I have been in the online business space for quite some time. I live in sunny Phoenix, Arizona. And yeah, I enjoy just hanging with family. I'm pretty involved with my church. I love classic cars, and most of all, I love street tacos. So if you guys know of a good street taco place, please go ahead and put it down in the form below and send it to me. I'd love to try street tacos. But anyhow, the purpose. What's the purpose for this webinar? Well, Nate and I had been talking about this for quite some time now, but we thought this was such a good opportunity. One of the reasons Nate and I put this webinar together was because we're starting to see some trends, obviously, with e-learning, or distance learning, as they now call it, as a result of this COVID-19 pandemic. We've noticed small businesses are shutting down, and now it's a critical time for people to pivot and to determine what alternatives are available. And I'm sure you're now hearing terms like distance learning, which maybe you would likely not have heard, several weeks ago. Or maybe you have, or you are in the e-learning space and are well aware of it. And recently we had a nice young lady, and she came to us in our support system, and she was just telling us a story about her dance studio and how her dance studio took a hit. I mean, it's a small business, and so she was looking to get her dance classes put online because obviously her studio was being closed. So we were able to get her some advice and get her set up with online training with her dance studio. So whether you're an entrepreneur or you're trying to diversify your income stream, maybe you're a business owner, you're trying to figure out how to get your business online. It's our hope that we can help you out a little bit with this webinar. So just a couple of housekeeping items. I'm going to do my best, or we're going to do our best to keep this to an hour as far as the demonstration is concerned. And then we're going to definitely hang out afterwards, and we're going to answer some of your questions. I've already seen some of your questions roll in, so you guys got some good questions. And again, you can enter. You'll notice below the webinar window, there's a form, and you can submit your questions there, and you can submit as many as you want. Again, we'll do our best to get to every one of those questions. And some of those questions, if they seem a little more lengthy, we'll still try to get back to you just by emailing you back. So we'll do our best to answer as many of these questions as possible. If you happen to be joining us directly on YouTube, you can actually do the live chat option there. And so I'm going to be watching over here on my live YouTube window, and I see that some people are on there. So hello, we've got Edu from Mexico. So good morning, Edu.
Oh, cool.
And,
good morning.
Yeah, cool. So I'm going to be watching that as well. So again, we'll answer those at the end of the webinar. So also in this webinar, we will be talking about products, both hardware and software. And just in the spirit of transparency, we are affiliates for some of these products. However, every product that we mention or recommend, we've either personally purchased or we've personally used, and we're very comfortable recommending and standing by these products. And lastly, this has been a very, very common question. I've already seen a bunch of these questions come in. The webinar will be recorded.
Yes.
We're gonna post this to YouTube, and I believe I'm gonna try to upload this to Facebook. I'm not sure if there's a limit for how long a video can be uploaded to YouTube or to Facebook, but I will try to get that up there as well. So, all right. Oh, and so with that, because it's going to be recorded, I just wanted to just throw this out there. Some of you guys I know might be scratching down notes as fast as you can. Don't worry about writing anything down. I don't want you to be distracted. Let's just go ahead and watch the webinar, because you can always rewatch it later on. So don't worry about taking notes. And if you have to bounce early, I get that. I've got my 2 kids right now. They're doing their distance learning actually right now as we speak. So thankfully I have my wife at home and she's able to assist with that. But I get it. If you need to bounce, there will be a recording. So,
and we have the resources. A lot of you may have already seen this, but we have the resources. The resources we mentioned during the webinar, we link to those on the webinar page. So you can always come back and access those if you need to.
Yep, exactly. Thanks, Nate, for that reminder. So I believe with that said, let's kick this thing off. You guys ready to get started? All right.
Sure.
Well, let's get this thing going here. Oops, just sharing my screen here. There we go. Had the wrong one up there for a second. Okay.
Looks good.
Okay, so first of all, I just wanted to take a moment, and I wanted to brag on some of our customers for just a minute. We're just delighted that these businesses and individuals have experienced success with their online courses. And I'm also excited because we're able to play a small role in their success, which means a lot to both Nate and myself, just that we've had this background in online business. And so we know what it's like starting from the ground up, building something, bootstrapped. And it's just exciting for us to see this, that we're able to play a small part by people using the software that we've created. And so, sometimes when you're first starting out, you're looking at all these success stories, and you might be thinking, that success, it's just so far away, or maybe it's even unachievable. But let me say this, success, it doesn't happen overnight. It does happen a little bit each day with each step you take. So over time, you can reach levels that you thought were too lofty. And so why am I telling you all of this? Well, I don't want you to be discouraged before you even begin. And I want to emphasize that this will require some elbow grease, some good old fashioned hard work. And I also want to assure you that success is totally possible. So again, these are just a few more success stories that we know about, and I'm sure there are many more that we don't know about. These are just some of the more recent ones that we have from various individuals and businesses. And so, and maybe you're like these individuals here, and maybe you've asked yourself this question before, where do I even start with all of this? I mean, that's kind of the barrier, right? I mean, it's what keeps us from moving forward with something like this. And so that's the beauty of this webinar, is that we're going to take you through a specific path so that you don't have to waste a ton of time figuring out which path to take. You can look at this more like a sort of like a shortcut. Okay. So what are we going to be talking about today? And so this is just, from a bird's eye view, we're going to teach you these various topics, which will, there'll be enough for you to get a course launched. Now, will we have time to cover every detail? No, honestly, we won't. I mean, in an hour, we honestly cannot cover every single detail, but by the end of this webinar, you will know the general path it takes, which is going to be a real time saver. So you can get down on this general path, and obviously you're going to have little parts of this path where you're going to need to do some research and figure out little small details, but at least you have a general guide. So for this webinar, we are going to assume that you already have a course topic in mind and that you know exactly what you want to teach. If you don't know this yet, it's okay. This webinar will still be important because you're still going to have to go through this process once you've identified your course topic. Okay, so with that said, these are the topics we're going to cover. Where do I start? We're going to talk about WordPress and some WordPress basics. I'll explain why we're talking about WordPress and we're not talking about other things like SaaS tools. We're going to cover some video, audio stuff, building your course. Obviously, we're going to highlight WP Courseware. We're going to give you just some extra video tips. And then at the very end, obviously, we're going to have the Q&A. So we're going to start off with the domain name. Now, for this, I'm going to recommend name.com. You'll see up on the screen. I also have Enom. They're both domain name registrars that I've personally used. In fact, this is what we use for our current business. For 5 plugins, we use name.com. And you might be asking yourself, well, why don't I just recommend registering your domain along with the web hosting company? For example, like, let's just say your web hosting company is Bluehost. Well, you can purchase a domain with Bluehost, but why do I not recommend that? Well, the reason for this is if you're ever unhappy with your web hosting company, or your web hosting company goes down or it goes out of business, you won't have to perform a domain transfer when you move your website to a new hosting company. So I always recommend keeping the two separate, okay? So what about the domain name itself? Well, here's what I recommend. Keep the domain short and descriptive of your course topic. And you might ask, well, what about having a keyword-rich domain name? Well, I would just say if the keywords you select are short and descriptive of your course, then go for it. Branding is more important than trying to make a domain name SEO friendly. And anyway, I don't believe that keyword stuffing a domain name holds much bearing with ranking in Google anymore anyway.
Yeah.
I also want to recommend spending the additional money on the WHOIS privacy. This will protect your private and your personal information, keep it private from showing up in a public WHOIS report. So those are my recommendations for your domain name. Next, we're going to talk about name servers. And it sounds like, man, we're getting really technical here and we're getting into some minutia here. What is a name server? I'm scared of this. It's not as difficult as you think. All a name server really is just a pointer to your web host. So when you purchase your domain name, you're going to need to know how to connect or direct that domain name by way of name server to your web hosting company's web servers. And again, this sounds super technical, but it's really not that difficult. Now, I'm not going to do a demonstration of this live, only because when you make this particular change, when you add a name server, it takes time for that change to kind of go around the world and replicate. And so in some cases, it takes up to 24 hours to complete. So I'm not going to do that. But if you look up on screen, you're going to notice I have a screen capture of our name.com account. And so what I've done is I've already set up web hosting with a web host, and I set up the name servers here. Okay, so this is where you would configure your name servers. And again, this is where you're going to have these name servers point to your web host. Okay, so in this instance here, you'll notice I've got 3 name servers, and these name servers are specific to GreenGeeks. Now, GreenGeeks is a web hosting company. Okay, and this is a web hosting company that I've already set up. Okay. So one thing to point out is that you do need to have your web hosting service provider set up prior to this. Okay, so I'm kind of out of step here. I'm kind of putting the cart before the horse here, but I figured since we're talking about domain name and that sort of thing with name.com, this is where you would actually configure that within name.com. So I'm just kind of grouping that in there. Technically, the way it would go is you would purchase your domain name with your WHOIS privacy, then you would do your web hosting, and then you would come in on the back end and point your name server to your web hosting. Okay, so I know that all sounds, super, super technical, but remember, if you have any questions about name servers at name.com, they provide technical support, and so they have great documentation. So between your registrar, name.com, and your web hosting company, you can seek out support, and they will definitely help you through any of this stuff. They're used to helping people with this because this is a very common question that people have. And typically these places have great documentation. So with that said, oh, Nate, did you have something?
I was just going to say there are hundreds of options for those also, right? I mean, hosting, domain names, we're making some general recommendations, but there are a lot of them out there.
Yeah, there's a ton of them out there. The primary thing I recommend is keep it separate from your web hosting company, and purchase the WHOIS privacy. And aside from that, I mean, it's just whatever company we would like to pick. These are just a couple that we've personally used and we've been pretty happy with. So next, let's chat a little bit about web hosting. Okay, web hosting is where your website will actually live. Okay, there's only a couple things to keep in mind when it comes to web hosting. Okay, the first thing that you want to think about is speed. Okay, obviously you want your website to be blazing fast. Okay, this might seem counterintuitive with what I'm about to recommend, but I typically don't recommend using cheap hosting. What is cheap hosting? Hosting that costs less than any grande drink at Starbucks is what you can consider cheap hosting, okay? Cheap hosting usually means that your website is crammed onto a server with hundreds of other sites, and which would basically mean that your site could potentially run slow, which is bad for user experience, and it's also bad for SEO. And the more expensive hosting solutions have a smaller number of sites per server, and they tend to be balanced for speed and caching and that sort of thing to make your site a little bit faster. And the other thing to take note of is uptime. Now, almost every hosting company will boast 99.9% uptime, which is usually true. In my experience, the cheaper hosting companies like Bluehost and HostGator, they tend to have somewhat frequent downtime. Now, Nate and I, we had to learn this the hard way. And this was when we were with Bluehost. After several days of having our website down and losing lots of money, we actually jumped ship and we went with WP Engine, and we've never been down ever since. So currently, Nate and I, we run our entire business website on WP Engine. And I currently use, also I use SiteGround for some of my client work and side work that I do. They're both great options, but they have very different price points. So you'll see those up on screen there. So both WP Engine and SiteGround. But I really want to focus on the first option. Okay, since you guys are just starting out, I'm assuming you guys are a beginner sort of coming into this with your first online course. And so going cheap is not a bad idea. But Ben, you just said that the cheaper option means slower and overcrowded servers. Yes, I did say that. However, you do have to start somewhere, and might as well start small and scale up later. The beautiful thing about WordPress is that you can take your site and move it from one hosting company to another, and it's really not that difficult to do. Okay, so I'm going to transition off of the slides here for a moment, and we're going to look at GreenGeeks for just a minute here. And so one thing to point out here is that the primary difference in these hosting plans, and I'm going to go ahead and increase the size here just a little bit. So one of the primary differences here, you'll notice with these various plans is that the EcoSite Lite only allows one specific site on that host or on that plan. Whereas if you bump it up, you can get unlimited sites. And there's some other things that are different. But the other thing I wanted to point out here is also the pricing. So you'll notice on the EcoSite Lite, if you go monthly, you're going to be paying about $9.95. If you go with a 12-month term, $4.95, and it goes cheaper as you go further into your plan. So I wanted to pick something that was relatively inexpensive. So if you were to purchase 36 months at $3, you're looking probably over just a little over $100, which is really not a bad deal. And GreenGeeks has had some really, really decent reviews and that sort of thing. And it's actually what I'm going to use for the live demonstration here shortly. But the other options with SiteGround and WP Engine are really good options also. WP Engine is a little bit higher price point, but it's a really good service. Just like I mentioned earlier, Nate and I, we've been pretty happy with it, and we've not been down since that. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to now do a live demonstration of building our website on GreenGeek. So I've not done this yet. So in fact, yesterday I just purchased hosting with GreenGeeks. And so now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and build our website for the first time. So I wanted you guys to see this because I think oftentimes with WordPress, we kind of get intimidated. We kind of think, wow, I've got to do all this stuff with a database and I've got to download WordPress and install it somewhere. And it just kind of seems like a far-fetched idea. And then people start thinking about hiring somebody on Upwork to do this. And it's seriously so easy. So anyhow, once you purchase GreenGeeks, it's very simple to purchase the plan. I think it's like a 2-step plan, literally. Once you've purchased hosting, then you're going to come in, you're going to log into your dashboard, and you'll notice here on the right-hand side, I've got a button here for cPanel. And so the cPanel is where you get to control everything about your website. There's a lot of stuff in here, and it's going to seem overwhelming at first, but I'm going to just kind of highlight the couple things that you really need. One thing that you're going to probably need to get familiar with is the file manager. What this is it's kind of like you may have heard the term FTP, which is file transfer protocol, which allows you to send files from your local computer up to the web server. It's just an application that does that. But File Manager is really cool because File Manager is kind of like an FTP software, but it's in the browser. So you can upload your files directly right in the browser to your web server from your computer. I do recommend using an FTP application. I'll get it out. If you're familiar with FTP, there's one that I use for my Mac. It's called Transmit, but there's some free ones out there like FileZilla. And so, so this is where you would go File Manager and FTP access here. You can create your FTP account, and that way you can get FTP set up. Now, to set up WordPress, what you're going to do is scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you're going to see this little area called Softaculous App Installer. Okay, this might be called one-click installer on a different web hosting company. They call it different things. But here with GreenGeeks, this is what they call it. So I'm going to click on that, and it's just going to take us right in. And you'll notice on the left-hand side, you have options to install various types of content management systems and that kind of thing. But what we're really interested in is WordPress. Now, just to take a moment, why WordPress? Now, some of you may know this, but WordPress actually powers 1/3 of the internet, which means 1 out of every 3 websites that you go to is powered by WordPress. It's a WordPress website. And so why is WordPress so popular? Well, a couple of things. WordPress is very flexible. You can do just about anything with WordPress because it's open source software, which means you can see the code, you can modify the code, and you can make it do just about anything you want. If you have development skill or if you have a developer, you can make that happen. And so this content management system, WordPress, has grown over the years. There's a huge community behind it. In fact, if you look in your local area, you may even have WordPress meetups where WordPress people get together and they talk about WordPress, and it's not even at a high level. It's just talking about topics about WordPress, maybe themes and plugins and how to make everything work together and that kind of thing. So you might check your local area listing. I know right now there's probably nothing going on, but in the future, I'm sure that's going to open back up. So in order to install this, we're just going to click Install Now. And you'll notice here, it's going to ask for my installation URL. Well, I've already set this up with a domain name that I registered when I purchased GreenGeeks. It asks you, do you want to register a new domain, like pick something new, or do you want to use one that you already have? So I just picked the option to use the one that I already have, and that's why you see this pop in here. Here you can change your site name. We can call it whatever we want. and then you can have a site description, and I'll just leave it at that. Down here, you can configure your admin username and password. Now, what I do recommend is that you change admin, change that to something else. Don't leave it as admin. And the reason for that is because it's default for most people. So hackers are obviously going to try to use this particular domain name. So change it to something different, like, I don't know, I'm just going to use something kind of obscure here, something weird, hot dog. And we're going to make the password. And again, I do recommend making the password something, you know, that's complex. Don't use something very simple, like don't use password. And actually, what I'm going to do is, oops, I'm going to delete that, and we'll hide this so that, okay. And you can configure your admin email address there, your language. And then here you can actually install some plugins by default. So they're offering the ability to install plugins. For now, I'm just going to leave that set to nothing. I'm going to leave that those checkboxes blank. And you can actually set a theme. So we're gonna talk about themes here in just a minute. But I'm not going to pick one here. I'm just going to go ahead and say install. So this is going to go ahead and install. And that's pretty fast, not bad, right? So you actually have a WordPress website already installed and functional, okay? So I want you guys to take note of something here though. I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can increase the size here, but take note of this URL right here. Okay, this is the administrative URL. This is what they call the back end of WordPress. And this is how you log in as an administrator to your website. So you want to keep that address, and it's typically just your domain name with WP admin slash WP admin at the end there. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and just click on that link. Should open it in a new window here. And you'll notice it actually logged me right into the website, which is really cool. So this is actually a live website right now. So if you go and click and type in wpcourseware.net, you're going to see my new WordPress website. Now, I don't recommend you do that because I want you guys paying attention to the webinar, but you guys can do that later. So next, what we're going to do is I'm going to attempt, and I'm not sure if this is going to take time or not, you know, just because I've not done this with GreenGeeks before. But I'm going to go back to our dashboard here, and I'm going to click on security because we want to install an SSL certificate. Now, why is this important? Well, if you're going to be selling courses, you're going to want to have a secure website. Now, WP Courseware, and I'll demonstrate this here shortly, but WP Courseware comes with 2 payment gateways, Stripe and PayPal, which PayPal takes you off-site to make the purchase. However, Stripe actually does it on page. So you want to have the SSL set up, especially for Stripe. Otherwise, Stripe will not work. And this is that way the data transfer and all of that stays secure when you make the purchase. So I'm going to go ahead and pop down here to SSL certificates. I'm going to click on add. And then it says select service. So we're just going to pick the one that's already there. It asks to select the domain, and it pre-populates that because it already knows that was the domain I registered with GreenGeeks. Now, the next option here, it's gonna offer you a couple of different options for your certificate. Now, Let's Encrypt is a free service, so we're gonna go ahead and use that. And let me just say this: that Encrypt SSL, or Let's Encrypt SSL, is actually it's approved, or it's actually going to work with Stripe. So you don't need to worry about getting this one's called Alpha SSL. You don't need to get the higher price one or anything like that. It's actually free. So we're just going to go ahead and select that, and we're going to confirm and create. And then we're going to install. And let's see how quick this goes. I know I've done this on other hosting company websites, and sometimes it does take a little while for this change to happen. So I wasn't quite sure how it was going to go during the live demonstration, but looks like it might be going pretty fast.
Not bad.
Hey, look at that. It's already installed. Awesome. Cool. So what does that mean on the website? If I come over here and I do a refresh, you'll notice it's not showing the SSL here. In fact, it says it's not secure. What you have to do in WordPress is you have to change that URL. So that's the first thing that we're going to do. So once that SSL is installed, then you're going to come down here to settings, and I'm actually going to blow this up just a little bit more because it might be a little small. And so just click on settings and general. And you're going to notice here, you're going to have a WordPress address and a site address. Now, one address is for the admin backend, one is for the front end. I don't recommend changing these, so I would leave them identical. So what we're going to do here is just add the S to the HTTPS there. And I'm going to come down to the bottom and I'm going to hit save changes. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to log me out, and I'm going to have to log right back in. But as soon as I log back in, you're going to notice at the very top here, I've got the little lock, the little symbol for the SSL. So now I have a secure website. Okay. So you saw that we just created a WordPress website in probably less than, I don't know, what was that, Nate? About 5 minutes?
About 5 minutes. Yeah.
5 minutes. I've got a WordPress website. I've got the SSL installed. And so, man, now we're ready to get started with our website. So it's exciting stuff. So now I'm just going to briefly cover themes. So what is a theme? A theme is the look and feel of your website. So when somebody comes to your website and they see a really pretty website, it's the theme that's driving all of that. The theme is basically a set of templates that drives the look and feel of your website. So what's cool about WordPress is because it's open source, there's a lot of people in the community and they're always contributing, they're creating themes and plugins, and a lot of these plugins and themes, they're actually free. Now, that's not to say that every one of them is good. You have to be cautious with what you use, but there's a lot of really good stuff out there that's free. So if we click on appearances and themes, what you can do is you can actually come up here and you can search. I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong spot here. This is actually, I'm sorry, this is the screen where you pick. So these are the themes that are installed on your website. And so what we want to do is we want to install a new theme. So what you're going to want to do is click add new. And then you're going to see this screen here, which allows you to sift through the theme repository. So all these themes are free. Okay. And you can search, there's some filters up here, popular, latest, favorite. You can even type in a search here. Like if you want like a, minimalist theme, you can find something like that. So this is just how you would find a free theme. Now, what about like for what we do? Do I recommend a free theme? Honestly, what I recommend is using a page builder. And there's one page builder that we highly recommend. It's called Beaver Builder. Okay. Now, Beaver Builder is really cool because it consists of a plugin, which is your page builder. It also consists of a theme and a child theme. Now, I don't have a lot of time to go into all the details of the parent theme and child theme, but what I will say is the child theme is important so that when you update your parent theme, you don't lose changes that you make to the theme. So that's really the purpose for the child theme. But the cool thing about Beaver Builder is it comes with all of that. And so what I wanted to point out here is Beaver Builder is $199 for the pro version, and that's the version you're going to want to get. The reason for that is because that's the one that comes with the Beaver Builder theme. Now, you could just get the page builder. In fact, there's a free version of the page builder on the plugin repository. But I recommend purchasing at minimal the page builder that comes here with a standard option. Just because you're going to get a lot more bells and whistles and a lot of more functionality out of that. And the pro version comes with the theme, which is really cool because they have some really cool templates that you can apply, which I'm going to show you right now. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come back over to my website and we're going to upload a theme here. So I already have this downloaded to my computer here. So we're just going to pop over to downloads. And you'll see here, I've got BB theme, BB child, and the BB plugin. So we're going to install the BB theme. Okay, that was pretty quick, but I'm not going to activate it just yet. So we're just going to return to the themes page, and you'll see that it's installed, but it's not activated. And so I'm going to click add new once again, and I'm going to click upload. And then this time I'm going to pick the child theme. Okay, we're going to install that. And this is the one that I'm going to activate. So we're going to activate the child theme. Okay, so now we've got a theme installed. So this is really cool because now we can go start building. But before we start building, we're going to need to install the Beaver Builder plugin, which is the page builder. So I'm going to go down to plugins, installed plugins. And I'm going to hit add new. Oops, upload plugin. And we are going to pick this option, the plugin pro. Okay, so now I'm going to install the plugin. So now we've installed the theme and the plugin. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to really fast. I'm going to go to the front end of our website, and I'm just going to give you a quick demonstration of what this looks like. So let's go over to, and I've got to activate the plugin. Okay. So I'm going to go really quick to the front end here. And what we're going to do is just do a new page. And we don't need to see all that. All right, and we're just going to give our page a title, and I'm going to click Launch Beaver Builder. So what this is going to do is this is going to take me right to the front end, and I don't need a tour. And you'll see we have a blank slate. Now this is really cool because you have all of these modules. You have rows and columns. So for example, if I wanted to put in a 2-column row, then let's just say I wanted to add in a heading over here. We can do that. And let's just say I wanted to add something over here on this column. We're going to add some text. Okay, so we're going to add text over here, and we're going to go ahead and save that. So that's how easy it is to use Beaver Builder. It's literally point and click. You can add photos, HTML, video, and there's so many other things that you can add. Now, all of these options are not available on the free version, only on the pro version. Okay, so the only other thing I want to show you here really quick is the templates. And this is why I recommended going with the Beaver Builder theme as well, because you have all these really cool landing page templates. So, and what's cool is it's just giving you kind of some placeholders so that you already have some design in place. So for example, let's just pick this one, and I'm going to replace my existing layout, and I'm going to say, okay. And you'll notice I've got this really nice looking website. Like a couple of clicks and I have this really nice looking page, and you can come in here and you can edit these various components that are already in here. So, so that's Beaver Builder in a nutshell. There's so much more to show you on that. I don't want to take up too much more time because I know Nate needs to have some time on here to get some things done. And so I did have a section where I was going to talk about a few plugins, and I'm just going to do that really quick. Actually, I was going to actually demo installing these, but I'm looking at our time, and it looks like we are pushing it. So really what I'm just going to show you here is if you go to plugins, install plugins, there's a couple of plugins I just want to show you really quick. So if you wanted to add a form, let's just say you wanted to add a form on your website. What we're going to do here is type in Ninja Forms. This is, and again, there's a bunch of these out there, a bunch of different form plugins. But the one that we really like is Ninja Forms. So you install this, and you can really quickly put a web form on your website. In fact, the web form that you see on the webinar page right now for asking questions, that is driven by Ninja Forms. Another one I want to point out is a plugin called Security. Security is a security service for websites. But I highly recommend using this on your personal website or your business website so that you can add a layer of security for your website to keep hackers out and that sort of thing. It's really cool because it gives you updates and notifications when somebody's actually trying to run like a brute force attack on your website. So again, I would highly recommend Security. And the last one I'm going to recommend is one called Updraft. And Updraft, this one here is basically it's a backup plugin for your website. It's very, very critical that you back up your website because you never know when your site might go down or your web hosting company might go down and you need that backup, or you make a change to your website and you kind of mess things up. I've done that before, believe me. And so you definitely want to have a backup solution. Now, this one is free. I would actually, what I would recommend is purchasing the upgraded version or the premium version of Updraft, so that you can have the ability to push those backups to services like Amazon S3 or Dropbox or Google Drive or something like that.
Even if your host backs up for you automatically, it's a good idea to store your own locally or in the cloud.
Yep. Okay, so one couple other things before I give this over to Nate. I just wanted to quickly mention one other important thing. Your website is going to require maintenance. What do I mean by that? It's kind of like your mobile phone, your smartphone. Your apps need to get updated. Well, plugins and themes need to get updated. And so you have these plugin authors and theme authors, and they're constantly tweaking code, adding in new features, fixing bugs, maybe fixing security flaws. And so what you're going to want to do is keep these updated. And what I recommend doing is going to the updates area, and you'll see a list of updates. Now, obviously, I don't have any plugins right now that need updating. WordPress is up to date, so that you don't see any of that listed here, but this is where you would go to do that. I recommend doing that frequently. And if possible, this is getting really technical. If you have a staging site, I would test your updates on the staging site first. What that means is just a backup copy of your website, so that you make sure that none of these updates break your website. That's a whole nother probably webinar. Yeah. So that's maintenance. And also one last thing here is I'm going to do a plug for Local. This is a free product. It's called Local. It's made by WP Engine. And this is a really cool software that you can install, I believe, on both Mac and Windows. And what it does, it's a cool software that allows you to spin up WordPress websites locally on your computer, so that you can play with WordPress. You can install plugins and themes and just play with it on your local computer without having to push it up to the internet, make live changes. So this is kind of a sandbox. And so it's just a tool that I highly recommend. Even if you're not a developer, it's super easy to use. It's intuitive, and it gives you a really cool place to just play with WordPress. So sorry I took up so much time, Nate. I know we're pushing.
No, that's okay. I can be quick with this stuff.
I was pushing through that. So I'm gonna turn this over to Nate. Nate's gonna talk to you guys about some hardware audio stuff. And so Nate, it's all yours, buddy.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Let's see here. Get my desktop up here. All right, we'll do this one first. Oh, no, it's not. There we go. Does that look okay, Ben?
I've got a delay on my end, but actually I'm not seeing, so I'm not seeing, yeah, I'm not seeing an 8.
Let's see.
So just real quick, I'm seeing some live chat messages here. So what's up, Kelly Kerr? Security, yes, it is awesome. Living Technologies, hey there, how's it going? And okay, so I got a tip on tacos, bacon tacos. Man, I've never thought of bacon tacos. That sounds really good. But I do like tacos al pastor. It's like marinated pork. It's really good. And we have Kanan. How's it going, Kanan? Cool. Yep, I got you, Nate. I see it.
Okay. And play. Sorry, guys.
No worries, man.
So like Ben talked about, we're assuming you have an idea for a course topic, maybe not. And we are also assuming, well, what did we, Ben, we sent out a WP courseware customer survey. I think it said 92% of the respondents said they use video as their primary training technology. So we're going to go through just a little bit of the video side of things, how you'd be creating content for your course to upload to this site that Ben showed you how to create. And then he's going to show you how to structure that into a course. So I just wanted to talk first about media hosting. Ben talked about the web hosting. However, we want to keep, if you're going to be using a lot of video within your course, we want to keep that separate from the web server. The reason being, you're going to, if you're delivering a lot of high definition video from the same server that your WordPress website is on, you're going to tax that server pretty hard, and people are going to experience performance problems with your site and also playback of the videos. So we're going to go over some options for video hosting, but just wanted to point that out. These networks, they've got robust resources, global content delivery networks, so you can ensure a good playback experience across the board for everyone. They're cost effective. And lastly, this sort of affects the perceived value of your course, because your students are going to see quality, the quality of your course associated with the playback experience. So we want to make sure that they are able to load your videos up quickly.
Yeah.
All right. So what do we look for when we are trying to find a place to put videos to host them for our course? Some considerations. I just want to mention that we can't control everything. Obviously, we don't know what internet connection our end user has. We don't know what kind of computer they're on. We can look for a few things though. The video player is important because that's going to be embedded on your site. So you're going to want to find a player that you can do what you want it to do, however you want that to be, how you want your content delivered to your students. Just make sure that the video player works within your site and you can customize it as needed. Next, upload limitations. Some of the video hosts these days, they restrict things like the video length, video file size, monthly upload capacity, and total upload capacity. So they're going to have pricing tiers based on some of these factors here. And that can affect your course build out. So you don't want to run into limitations that are going to prevent you from uploading all the video that you need to. Content delivery network, all the major video hosting services are going to have a built-in content delivery network. This allows them to deliver your video from a server around the globe somewhere, which is nearest to the end user's geographic location. Most of them are actually using Amazon's network of about 160,000 servers around the world. But you're not going to have to worry about that with some of the major video hosting providers. But with others, you can configure it. We're going to be talking about Amazon Web Services S3 and how you can integrate that with a CDN. Cost, obviously, these are all going to be priced differently. So it's going to come down to what works best for your training and for your students, and what you want to put in the budget for this. All right, first option is Vimeo. Vimeo has been around for a while. They're the second, I believe the second largest video hosting platform after YouTube. And they have some different plans I put across the bottom here. Plus, they have a plus plan at $7 per month, 5 gigabytes of uploads per week. Plus is 20 a week, business, no weekly limit, and then they have a premium enterprise plan. But this is going to, again, depend on how much video you need to upload to your course. Vimeo has an awesome player. That's one thing that you'll hear a lot of people mention, Vimeo users mention. They really like the flexibility of the player. However, that player, it does require that the end user has a pretty good internet connection speed. It's pretty resource intensive. Again, the limitations could be restrictive depending on what you're trying to do with your course, how much video you have. They don't have a free plan, but there's no contract or anything like that. So you could try it out for a month. We are also covering Wistia, which has a highly customized player. Also some really cool interactive tools that they just started adding about, I believe about a year ago. Things like in-video links, chapters, so students can easily navigate longer videos. You can see at the bottom of this slide, the way they break this down, they have a free plan that gives you 3 videos. But to do anything really in terms of building a course with Wistia, it's $99 per month. That includes 10 videos, and then they charge you 25 cents per video per month. So this is expensive if you don't have a lot of video. If you do have a lot of video, or you're going to have a large number of videos, you're going to find out this is pretty cost effective. But we wanted to mention this because we have users with courses who have hundreds, 400, 600 videos, video lessons. And for them, this may be the way to go. So that's an option. Finally, Amazon S3. And this is Amazon Web Services has an entire suite of developer tools. You can do pretty much anything on the internet with one of their tools, right, Ben? They have something for, I think, just about any application you want to build.
Yeah, if you are a software developer or no software developer, you can get just about anything, literally anything built with AWS. AWS is a great option.
They've got it. Very cost effective, very robust delivery network. They do have their CDN is called CloudFront. That integrates with S3. So S3 is their cloud storage platform. And it works just like any other cloud storage platform. You upload your content there, and it can be delivered from there to your website. So we could place a video player on our WordPress website that Ben showed you how to set up. And then that player can access video from anywhere. In this case, it would be S3. It's really cost effective. It's cheap to store video there, and it's cheap to deliver it. It's hard to figure out what you're actually going to be paying. We wrote a blog post about a year ago, I think, that helps guide you through this pricing calculator that Amazon Web Services uses for S3. So check that out. I linked to that in the resources on the webinar page. You can check that out. It'll help you figure out what you might pay per month if you're checking this out as an option for your video. It does have a pretty steep learning curve, as Ben just said. It's sort of built for developers. It's not for your average user. The good news is that we have a tool called S3 Media Maestro that we're going to go over at the end here that allows you to not have to interface with the dated user console that Amazon is in the process of improving, but sort of slow to do. All right. Step 1. So once we have a video hosting service, we're obviously going to need to get our videos there. So we're going to upload, no matter what service it is, you're first going to upload your videos so they're there, they're safe, and they're ready to go. Vimeo and Wistia, they're going to have pretty similar uploaders. I just put screenshots on here. We're not going to log in and go through all of that. S3, theirs is a little more cumbersome, but we'll go through how to do that with S3 Media Maestro in just a bit. So you're going to upload your videos, and then you'll grab an embed code with Vimeo and Wistia. You can see those up here on the screen. Basically, an embed code that you're going to take back to WordPress and place on your site. There are some different settings that go into these embed codes, and each of these video hosts will be a little bit different in the settings they let you tweak. But for example, with Wistia in the middle of the screen there, you can sort of see it tucked back in the center. They have some options like for size and whether or not you want the video player to be responsive. So you can put those in there, and then it'll add those to the embed code automatically. So that is how we get those videos stored in the cloud and place them on our website. I'm just going to change decks here. Good to go?
Good to go. I see it, buddy.
All right. Course content production tools. So we want video and we want to upload it to a hosting platform and we want to deliver it to our students. So let's talk about how we get that video made. We'll talk about it a little bit. Video equipment, audio equipment, and most importantly, your editing software, which is a really, really critical tool for putting together a final product for your students. Video, as we talked about, we have a lot of customers using video primarily, or they're delivering only video courses. The tools to get this done are pretty inexpensive now. You can actually do a lot of the video production with a smartphone or a tablet. Audio can be good supplemental content for your training course. It's sort of hard for an online course to rely solely on audio, but it's great for portable material that students can use on the go. So what type of video might we produce for our course? I'm going to go through 4 of these. These are just the 4 types of video that we work with the most when we're producing training videos. The first is screencasting, and I guess that's sort of what you just saw with Ben. Walking through something, a piece of software or something online. You're basically just sharing your screen, and it's very easy to do. This is an example of, I was setting up a lead generation page in MailChimp for a training video. So as you can see, it's just, I was basically showing my screen and speaking over it. And that just requires software, screencasting software, and a microphone. So easy enough. The next video type, slide-based videos, is going to be basically the same thing, but as you can see in the example here, I basically just created a slide deck and then recorded the slide deck while I was talking over it. So that adds one piece of required gear, and that's going to be presentation software, PowerPoint, Keynote, which you likely already have.
I think you could use probably Google Slides as well, right, Nate?
Right. Yes. I should have mentioned that. That's what's going on upstairs at my house right now in e-learning land.
Yes.
Talking head videos, we don't do, well, I don't do a ton of this. Ben does quite a bit for tutorial style videos, as you can see, picture in picture. So he's actually doing a screencast and using his camera at the same time. I primarily use it, as you can see here, just the camera, and then I put that over a background where I'm demonstrating something like a slide. This is going to require screencasting software, presentation software, mic, and a video camera. And I'm going to go over a couple of setups at the end here, so you can see how you can set these up within your space. Portrait style, easy enough. That's just you, and it's great to mix up your course videos from time to time, so you're not just droning on all the time over slides or screencasts. You can get in there and just say hi to your students and let them get to know you a little bit. Requires your editing software, video camera, and an optional microphone. Your video camera may record decent audio to begin with. And that's Ben.
Yay.
So as far as video cameras go, really anything is going to work. When it comes to the quality of video for online courses, we found that audio quality is probably going to be more important than video. That being said, within reason, you want the quality of your video to be decent. But as I said before, even a smartphone or a tablet can get this accomplished if that's all you have to use. Most of these are recording pretty high quality video. They record the audio for you, obviously, so you don't need a separate mic. And there are a lot of cool apps for adding different effects and editing the content. You can also use a webcam. This one is the Logitech C920. I think Ben and I both have this one.
Yes, that's actually what I'm using right now. So this is my camera right
is
now, and I'm using it on my Mac. I've got latest Mac OS, but yeah, it's my C920. Works great.
Works okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and around $80. And that'll record audio also. It has a built-in mic. And then I had to plug the Panasonic's Lumix series of cameras because I've been using these for a few years and I absolutely love them. The recent incarnation of the, I guess, mid-range model, the DC ZS70s, they're 4K point and shoot with a Leica lens, around $350, but you don't need to go that high. I just wanted to show some options, budget, middle of the road, and high end, so you could see some examples of what you might want to work with. Optional video equipment, you may have already thought of these, but tripod and mount can be handy. Umbrella, lighting, and stands, those are pretty inexpensive now. And backdrop and stands, that never hurts, especially if you are in a space where you're recording, say in your apartment, and you don't want to show everything in the background. You can put one of these up and work wherever you need to, and then take it back down really easily. And teleprompters. I wanted to mention this because they have I made about a year and a half ago, I made a homemade teleprompter out of what you see there, basically a picture frame. And it has saved me a lot of time recording course videos because I'm a writer, so I don't mind sitting down and writing out a script for what I have to say. Then I can take that script, I send it to my iPad, and I display it on the teleprompter, and I can basically just read that while I'm recording. So it's a one-take deal. I get it done, I write the script, and then record, and I'm done. You can buy these starting at around $70. You can make one out of anything with glass that you can hold at a 45-degree angle. And there are some really cool apps to help you read that content on the teleprompter.
Hey, Nate, if I can interject something there.
Sure.
The teleprompter was kind of a game changer for me because I think a lot of people are intimidated with video, and they're intimidated with recording themselves. And they might mess up, say the wrong thing, say 500 times, or something like that. But the teleprompter, it just keeps you focused. I mean, you're going to have to learn how to read. You'll have to get used to it. But man, it was a game changer for me. I think it took away a lot of my fear of video. So it was like kind of a confidence booster for me. So it was definitely a game changer. I highly recommend some form of teleprompter, whether you can use any of those. I use an app on my computer or my iPad.
Yes, I do too. Yeah, I would agree. That's a good point, Ben. It steps up the quality of your video too, because you're just going right through exactly what you need to cover within that video. And mine actually does. It's on the iPad and it recognizes where you are in the script, so it will automatically scroll for you. Neat stuff. Microphones, again, you can do this with a smartphone or a tablet. If you're recording audio, you could add a lapel mic. When I do talking head videos or portrait style videos, I use a lapel mic, which is plugged into my smartphone. And then I put the phone in my pocket and I record audio that way and video with my video camera. And then I put them together and edit. For higher end stuff, the Blue line of microphones are always great. They're USB. This Blue Yeti is a USB condenser mic that both Ben and I use. It allows you to set different patterns. So if you're interviewing someone, you want to record front and back, you can record an entire room, whatever works for your setting. Those start at around $130 US. And
that's actually what I'm using right now. You can see my Yeti right here.
And you're also using optional audio equipment.
Yeah. Yes.
All three.
That's right.
And these are great things to have. A stand, none of these are very expensive. A stand, either a floor tripod stand, or a desk mounted boom stand, like you can see in the photo here, and like Ben is using. Any sort of stand to get, most of these microphones are going to come with a desk mount. And if you're doing screencasts and typing on your keyboard, your desk is going to pick that up. The microphone is going to pick it up and amplify it. So we want to get the microphone off the desk if we can. Further reducing noise, we can do that with shock mount, which basically just suspends the microphone in that contraption that you can see in the middle of the screen there. And then the pop filter, I say not so optional, because if you're using a microphone to record course content, you really should just go ahead and use a pop filter, because it's going to make such a difference with the quality of your audio. Okay, so I mentioned the setups. This top, I don't know what you'd call this, blueprint, diagram?
Yeah, it's a little schematic. I like it.
Schematic, thank you. Yeah, so this is, when I do portrait style videos, I do them in my office. I like to stand in front of my desk. I have a monitor in the background with the course logo on it, sort of just as a little bit of a touch to have that in the frame. As I said, I'm recording to my iPhone through a lapel mic. I use a couple of those umbrella lights, camera, tripod, teleprompter. There's a big window in that room, so I close it to keep exterior light out, because if it's really sunny outside, you know, cars are moving by sometimes and you're getting these flashes of light. So it just helps if I rely on the umbrella lights only, like I am right now. It's nice and consistent. And then the next schematic there is my basement studio. And that's where I'll do talking head videos, and just do that against a white cloth backdrop. Okay, so screencasting and editing software. I said this before, but it's really, really essential, because this is going to help us create that final product for our students. It can also help us compensate for relatively low quality video and audio. Take that with a grain of salt. It can't fix everything, but it can help. What you want to look for, we're going to make some recommendations next, but what you want to look for in video and audio production software, obviously built-in screen recording, all the three of the options that we talked about will have that if you're going to be doing screencasting. Video controls, coloring, lighting, audio controls, you want to be able to edit your audio. Timeline functions, that's sort of how you cut and splice different segments of video and audio together. Graphics features, especially for training videos, you want to be able to add text overlays, call outs, and export different quality levels and formats of video on the back end. Choose a learning curve you can tolerate. As you look through options for choosing a video editing software for your course videos, you're going to find that some are for beginners, some are really for advanced, almost professional production. So find something that works for what you're trying to achieve, and that you're not going to have to spend a ton of time learning. The other side of that is, do spend a little bit of time getting familiar with the basic functionality, whether it's going to YouTube or Udemy and finding a 2 or 3 hour course. It's going to save you a lot of time if you just get that out of the way in the beginning. That way, when you're producing your course videos, you can just get to it and be as productive as possible without trying to figure out where everything is. And choose according to your budget. So what do we recommend? Ben and I have been using ScreenFlow. I think Ben still uses ScreenFlow.
I do.
Awesome. Okay. Both of us do. And have been since, I want to say, about 2011. But it's a great tool. It's relatively simple to use. Has all the bells and whistles for video and audio editing. It is, however, Mac only. There's one called Camtasia, which is similar. with some extra functionality and a template library. That's going to be more expensive, but it works on Windows or Mac. Then we wanted to point out that there's an option for, it's a web app, Screencast-O-Matic. So you can use this just within your browser. They have a free plan. You can try it, sign up, and see if you like it and see if it's going to do what you need it to do. It's very cheap, $1.65 a month or $4 a month for the upgraded version, which you will probably want if you go that route.
Yeah, real quick on that Screen-O-Matic. I actually used that to train some teachers at my kids' school. And so just with this whole distance learning thing, and they were able to pick it up super fast. You can do screencasting. You can do, just like Nate talked about, a talking head. And so it comes with a real basic video editor, but it works really well. You can upload directly to YouTube, and you have other options for that. It does require you to install a small piece of software on your computer, but it is initiated from the browser, just like Nate said. But it's a robust software for $1.65 a month. I mean, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, that's crazy cheap. All right, that was that part of mine.
So yeah, what I'm going to do, Nate, really quick, because we still have a couple more things to cover. So sorry, we're going a little over here, folks. I apologize. But really quick, I wanted to point out just a couple other things with regard to video. So let me advance my slide here. And so here's just a couple of video tips I have that I personally use when I export my video. Now, a lot of your screencasting software, video editing software, they're going to have some of this already pre-configured, so you may not even have to worry about it, but we do get a lot of questions about this. And here are my recommendations as far as things that you want to look for when you export your video. And this will save you a lot of time, because there's a lot of information out there, and sometimes it's hard to find. But resolution is basically just the size of the video. You might be familiar with this. 1080p, 720p, that's your high definition sizes. I would recommend going minimum of 720. If you can do 1080p. I have a lot of people asking about 4K and above. And honestly, when you're doing video over the internet, your bottleneck is going to be your bandwidth and your computer speed. So there's a lot of facets with video that you have to consider. So I don't really recommend going above 1080p, although you can, it's not a bad thing. It's just, you have to be cognizant of your viewers and your users that are going to be watching it. So if you know your viewers are going to have lower internet bandwidth, don't do the higher option, because it's going to be a very painful experience for them. For video encoding, I do recommend H.264 in an MP4 format. It's the most commonly used format so that you can view in a browser. I know there's other video formats available, but that's what you're going to want to look for most video players, but more specifically for internet browsers, because internet browsers are very picky when it comes to the encoding. The bit rate, the lower end bit rate is more for your screencasting. If you're doing a talking head, go with a higher bit rate. That way you have a better quality of video. Frames per second, I always recommend about 30, or sometimes it's 20. I think it's 29 point, what is it, 0.5 or something like that. But I would recommend going that route. For your audio compression, you can use ACC Advanced Compression. I can't remember what that acronym is at the moment, but your bit rate for that would be about 384 kilobits per second. And again, that's just to get a good quality audio. Now, one thing to keep in mind, I always recommend this, is to make sure that you ensure that your audio is good. People will forgive poor video as long as your audio is good. Whenever I hear poor audio, it's like, oh, it's painful to hear. So it's going to be a bad learning experience for your users. So be sure you have good audio. So real quick, and I'm going to fly through this, guys, and I apologize for going over again. But I'm going to talk really quick about WP Courseware and how you can get your course up and running really quick. One thing I want to mention is that we do have on that webinar window that you're looking at, there's a link for WP Courseware. If you click that link and you're going to purchase today, you're going to get a discount. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time. There's a link there for S3 Media Maestro as well. So I'm just letting you know ahead of time. There's a discount there for you. It's just a way of saying thank you for joining us on the webinar. And so anyhow, let me go ahead and roll through this demonstration as quickly as possible. What I've already done is I've already installed WP Courseware. This is on my live site on wpcourseware.net. And so the first thing that you're going to want to look at is we're just going to kind of cruise through these settings really fast. Okay. Now, when you first install WP Courseware, you're going to get a series of pages that automatically get installed on your site. And actually, I can show those really quick. Okay, so you'll see these bottom 6 pages. These are your pages that WP Courseware will install: your courses, checkout, order received, order failed, your TNC, and your account. And so these pages are automatically created and configured. So when you're looking at your settings, this is where you see courses pages that's associated with that. Then you have some options for permalinks and that sort of thing. Same thing with units. It's just specifying some specific attributes for your units. You can actually change the label from a unit to lesson, lecture, or create a custom one if you want. I'm going to kind of glide over checkout because we're going to be a little more thorough on that one here in a minute. This is your student account page, okay, and these are your endpoints. So for your student account, when somebody logs in as a student into the account page, they're going to see a page for their courses and their orders and subscriptions and that sort of thing. So these are your settings where you configure that. All of these emails that you see on the email tab here are with regard to purchasing. So when people purchase your course, if they're using the native checkout option for WP Courseware, these are the emails that you want to configure for that. Okay, I'm going to talk about styling a little bit more here in a minute. The styling is really cool with WP Courseware because we've integrated that with the WordPress customizer. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and enable that so we can demonstrate that here shortly. The license is just the license that you have to enter for WP Courseware. There's a support area here where you can actually look up articles that we've written with regard to support. There's also some short codes here and short code helpers so that if you want to take a look at what each attribute for each short code means, you can just come and look right here. Okay, so that's a really broad look at our settings area. Okay, I'm just going to bounce up to tools really quick. The tools area is really cool because it allows you to export your course. This is also where you would import your course. You can also import users. So like if you want to register users in bulk and enroll them into courses, this is where you would do that. And you'll notice down here at the bottom, there's an example CSV. Just download that first so that you can get an idea of how to set up that CSV file. But remember, it is a CSV. It's not an XLS or a numbers file, depending on what spreadsheet application you're using. It is a CSV file, which is very specific. You can also import quiz questions. And again, you have an example CSV file down here. The system info, this just reports what your server is configured with, as well as your WordPress installation. Sometimes we request this when we are looking at your website for a support issue. And the system login utilities, that's just for some maintenance things for the plugin. So I'm not really going to cover that right now. I'm going to swing over to courses, and you notice I've already imported a course here, but I wanted to demonstrate how you would create a course from scratch. So from scratch, you basically would just click add new up here at the top. And what you're going to notice here is you have everything in one page here. You're going to see you've got multiple options here to configure your course. You've got some general settings with regard to enrollment, the unit visibility and how the unit advances. You can add a descriptor to your course. These are your payment options, which I'm going to cover more thoroughly here in just a second. You have your messaging. So this is on-page messaging. So when people are on your course, they see these various messages on the front end of your course, and so you can configure these. These are your emails that are specific to a course. So before I showed you those other email templates that was specific for purchasing a course, this is specific for things like course completion or module completion, unit completion, etc. We do offer the ability to deliver certificates. So you can come in here and you can configure your certificate. You can leave it with all the defaults, which is just regular text, and we provide a default background and that kind of thing. But you can change these options in here for example, for logo and background. You can even add a signature image, and you'll notice that there's a little info bubble here, and that will tell you exactly what those are for. And if you click on, let's see, I believe if you click on, oh yeah, so like for example, the background image, I clicked custom, and you do the info bubble for the custom. It tells you the size in pixels for that background image. Prerequisites, all this means is these are going to be courses that you have to identify, or I'm sorry, that you have to complete before you can access any of the course material in this particular course. So for example, for this course, I'll just give this a title for now. Okay, so if you wanted to view course example, what I can do is come in here and I can set a prerequisite where what this means is people would need to complete Introduction to WordPress course before they can see any content for course example. Bundles, all this means is that you can bundle other courses with this particular course. The bundles work whether you're selling the course or offering it for free. So you can offer a free course and bundle other courses with it. You can offer it when you have a paid course. It really doesn't matter. It just means if somebody gets enrolled into this course, they're going to receive anything that you've identified in the bundle. You can, this is an option where you can change the authorship of your course. You can change that to somebody else. Obviously, I only have one user in here at the moment. And you just have some basic tools here that allow you to enroll users into the course in bulk or administrators. Okay, so that's in a nutshell. That's the course settings. There's a lot there. I realize. Trying to just be considerate of your time. I know we're running way over. Okay, so let's build a course. For the first thing we want to do is we want to add a module. So with any course, the way the hierarchy works is you have your course at the top level, then you have the module, and then you have the unit. Quizzes go on top of units, and I'm not really going to cover a whole lot on quizzes today. So we'll just do test module here. I'll give this a quick descriptor, and we're going to add a module. We'll do module test 2. So we'll create a second one, and we'll add that. And once you're done adding your modules, I mean, you just basically add these in serial, and it pops them into the course builder here. Now what happens is you can come into each module and you can add a unit. So when I click on the module here, we just simply add a unit. So this will be test unit, and we have options here. Now WP Courseware does give you the option to drip these units out and in a time frame. So you can either do on a specific date or a date interval from when the student was actually enrolled. You can also make this a teaser so that when people see it on the front end, anybody that publicly visits your website without logging in can see the content of this particular unit. This is helpful if you just want to add like a nice teaser so that people can see, oh, that's great course content. I do want to purchase it. So that does exist. So we're just going to go ahead and add this unit. I'm going to go ahead and add a second unit, and there we go. So now I've got 2 units added to my course. The cool thing about this course builder is all of this stuff is you can click and drag it. So let's say, for example, I wanted to move that to module 2. Let's just say that I really wanted to make this the first module. I can click and drag that to the top. You can add quizzes right from here as well. Again, I'm not going to cover quizzes because there's a lot to quizzes. Just know that you can create quizzes. There's 3 types of quizzes: non-blocking, blocking, and a survey type. Blocking just simply means they cannot progress in the course until they achieve a specific score that you've specified. A non-blocking quiz just means that they can complete the quiz with a recommended score, but they can still progress regardless of what they make on the recommended score. And the survey is just that. It's just a survey, just asking questions, and that's it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys how to set up the shopping cart. So I'm going to click over to settings. And I am frozen. Nate, are you able to see my window?
I can, yes, sir.
Okay, for some reason I am frozen here. Sorry, guys. Okay, here we go. Not sure what happened there. Okay, cool. So now let's go over to settings in checkout. And again, we have checkout pages that were already created. I did show those. But what I want to specifically go over is the payment gateways. Now, PayPal is definitely an option, but I want to cover Stripe just because it's probably the easier one to use. So when you go into Stripe, you're just going to enable the credit card here. One thing to take note of is that you cannot use Stripe unless you have an SSL on your website. So we did add that. And then what you want to do is enable Stripe test mode because we want to test this out. We don't want to go live right out of the gate. So what will happen in Stripe, it's really easy to use. You sign up for an account, you log into Stripe, you go into the developers area, and you're going to get two keys. They're going to give you a publishable key and a secret key. Okay, these are your API keys. And so all you're going to do is you're going to come in here and you're going to copy and paste them in here, which is what I'm going to do here. And it looks like they're asking for the test webhook, and I don't think I had that available here. So sorry about that. Let me grab that here. Okay, got it. And we're going to pop all that in there. And that's really all there is to configuring Stripe. Once you have those 3 API keys in there, you just click Save Settings. So now we are completely configured to sell courses. Now what we can do is we can actually go to the front end of the website, and I'm going to navigate to the courses page, which the courses page is kind of like your course library, or your it's really an archive page is what it is in a technical term from WordPress. It's an archive page, but it will show every course that you have available for sale. So we have this particular course here, Introduction to WordPress. One thing I did forget to do is I forgot to go set a price. So let's go do that now. I'm going to go back into our courses, and I'm going to set a price on this particular course. So down here under payments, we do offer a couple different options here for payment. You can do a one-time payment, which is it's a great option. Typically, a lot of people ask about subscriptions and courses, and it's really hard to do a subscription on a course because a course is typically set up and it's finite, right? You're not really adding a lot of content to it. So what a lot of people have done recently is move to a payment plan. So the payment plan is just offering people either a one-time purchase at a certain price, which is typically a discounted price, or they offer a payment plan, which is actually it'll be a little bit more, but it'll be the entire price obviously broken up into multiple payments. So we actually have that option built in here. So you can do a one-time payment. So let's just say we're going to set this to like $2.99, and we'll go ahead and enable installments, and we will do 3 payments of, or I'm sorry, let's do 10 payments of, no, let's do like, how's that? $35. And you can set the installment interval down here. You can say monthly, quarterly, semi-yearly. For this example, I'm just going to leave it as monthly. And so what I'm going to do is click update. Now we'll go back to our course page here. Now, obviously this does not look like much. You're going to need to come in here and you're going to design your website with Beaver Builder to make things look a little bit more pretty than this. But just for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that. Whoops, what happened here? Okay. Well, things never go as smooth as you want. Okay. This typically happens sometimes, and I'll show you actually a quick fix to this. We go down to permalinks and we reset our rewrite rules. And so if I come back over here, Yep, there we go. So now you see an outline for this particular course. You'll also notice I'm already enrolled into this course because I am the creator of this course. So if somebody came into this and wanted to purchase it, you would not see this ability to look at course content when you come in here. So what I'm actually going to do so that I can run a test purchase, I'm going to see if I can open an incognito window here. And I'm actually going to bring it over here. And we'll test a purchase. So I'm going to go to wpcourseware.net. And we see, oops, we need to go to our courses page. Okay, so now we see our course here, we see our payment plan, and we see our installment plan. I'm sorry, our one-time purchase and our installment plan here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do the one-time purchase. And we're going to go check out. And it takes you to the checkout page, which was already pre-configured. You don't have to do anything. That was already configured. The cool thing about WP Courseware is there's an ability to add coupon codes. Again, we won't cover that right now. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to type in some info here. Okay, and we'll just do address here. Obviously, this is all bogus information, which is no big deal. Add a country. And we'll add in the state. Okay, so since this is just a test with Stripe, it's really cool because Stripe gives you the testing information here. They give you a test credit card, which you can enter here. So I'm going to copy that right in here. You can make up your expiration date. So I'm just going to make that up. And your CVC code can also be made up. So I'm just going to add one in there. Now, one thing that you have to do is click the accept your TNC, and that is a setting that's in the back end of WP Courseware. You can make this optional or you can make it required. For this example, it's obviously required. And that's all there is to it. And then we're just going to place our order. What did I do wrong here? Maybe it didn't like my keys. Well, let's go back to our keys. So these are just some little things that you might run into. So we're just going to pop back in here. And apparently I did not copy these correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and copy these back in here one more time. Hopefully we get these right. And let me get the signing secret here. Okay. We'll save those settings. Pop back over to our checkout window here. And let me just make sure that everything is filled out. Yeah, it looks like everything's filled out. So we'll just go ahead and place the order again. Oh, wow. It's for some reason not letting me. That is really weird. Maybe I'm too far out with the CVC code or with the expiration date. Let's try that. Wow. And that is exactly what I copied in here. Well, this is a little bit embarrassing. Okay. Sorry about this, guys. I'm just going to double check my API keys one more time. Maybe I just didn't copy them correctly. Now they do look good. Oh, no, they are incorrect. This is my fault. Okay, I'm sorry about this, guys. The API keys are incorrect. I copied the wrong ones. Let's get the right ones in here. Sorry about that. Okay, here we go. What I was trying to do, actually, it was trying to run a live test, which obviously is not going to work. So let's get these in here. There's one more thing I have to configure on Stripe's end here. Okay, I think we're good now. Okay, sorry about that, guys. You think you have everything prepared, and for some reason you just don't. Okay, so if it doesn't go through here, I may have to refresh this page. Yeah, I think I have to refresh. Okay, so unfortunately, I'm going to have to go do this all over again. So we'll just do something different here. All right, that's why I wasn't accepting the card, because it was waiting for a real card. Okay, so accept the terms and we'll place our order. Okay, so now this order should go through and we will get enrolled into our course, which is really cool. And what's cool is it actually automatically logs you in. So we can go view our account and you'll see this is the student account page here. This is your course. So you have your course outline ready here. You can view your order. Obviously this was not a subscription, and then you have your account information in here that you can change. So from the courses page, you can actually click and go to the course content here. Obviously I don't have any course content, but this is where your student would come in and take the course. So that's WP Courseware in a nutshell. Just a couple things I want to show you on the back end of WP Courseware. We do have a classroom page. We'll show all the people in your course, and we also have a gradebook option. So you can look at your gradebook for your course. If you don't have any quizzes, there will be nothing that shows up here. So a couple other things here. You have your modules page. This shows every module that you've created in your across all of your courses. These are all the units across your courses as well. This is where you would go to create a quiz. We do have a questions pool. And then the students page is where you can see all of your students, their progress, and then you can see their detailed information. You can enroll them manually into a course. You can actually reset their progress. Here's the detailed information for each course. And so there's still a lot that I have not covered with WP Courseware, but that in a nutshell is how you get a course built, set up your payment gateway, and check out. So I apologize for the technical difficulties again. I was copying the wrong keys, and unfortunately I thought I was prepared and I wasn't. So we did have some time where we wanted to demonstrate S3 Media Maestro. Unfortunately, we are way past our time. But Nate, did you want to just give a quick, I guess, description of S3 Media Maestro?
Sure. Yeah, we have a plugin, S3 Media Maestro. It's sort of a companion plugin to WP Courseware. Since the beginning, we stored all of our course video with Amazon Web Services S3. So we created a plugin that is a player, but it also helps you protect the links to your S3 hosted media content so that people can't share those links. So it's a good way to, if you have training content that you're worried about people passing around without paying for it, it's a good way to protect that. It also allows you to interface with Amazon Web Services without going into their console to upload and manage your media. You could do all that right from WordPress. It's pretty handy tool to have if you're going to be doing a lot of videos within your course.
Yep. So S3 Media Maestro, it's a great tool. Nate mentioned earlier that AWS has kind of a really rough interface. It's kind of difficult to use, but S3 Media Maestro just completely takes all of that away. You input a couple of keys, just kind of like I did with Stripe. And once you input those keys, then everything that you do can be done on the WordPress side. You can upload your videos, you set them, embed them into your course units. And so it protects your content so that those videos they don't get shared across the internet. So that URL is not hot linked. You can set an expiration for those URLs. So yeah, I apologize guys for going over. I think maybe Nate, we can take some questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to pop down and start going through some of these because we've gotten quite a few questions here. So, okay, so I had somebody ask if there's a glossary function or if there's like a way to add in vocabulary or terms list for each unit. There's not a specific function for that, for having like a glossary of terms or anything like that. You can, each unit has a text editor. It's a rich text editor. So you can input text. So obviously you can drop that in there. You can copy and paste that literally in there. If that's not an option for you, if you have them on a PDF file, you can embed that PDF file as a downloadable link. And basically anything that you can put into a WordPress page or post, which is, an image, text, a hyperlink, video, embedded audio, that you can put any of that into a WP courseware unit. Nate, how about this one? You can tackle
Sure.
this one if you want. What is the sweet spot for course length per session, or how many sessions, and then pricing? It's a pretty loaded question.
Oh yeah, pricing. That could be a webinar. Content. What I always tell people is, if you think of your course as a bridge, you're trying to get people from where they are. So you need to figure out where that is. Where is your ideal student right now? Where are you trying to get them? You want to include the least number of steps on that path, because we don't want to just fill a course with so much information that we're overwhelming our students at every turn. So think about the minimum that you're going to need to introduce to the student to get from point A to point B. Break that down into major learning steps, and then break it down into smaller chunks, which are going to become your lessons. And I would recommend, if possible, this is really, really hard to do because I usually fail at it, but if possible, try to keep your lesson videos each under 5 minutes. The shorter, the better. Learning retention seems to be stronger when students can watch multiple short videos versus just massive marathon videos. But the length of the course itself is just going to come down to what you need to demonstrate to make sure that you get that concept introduced to the student. Pricing, that's a tough one. There are a few factors there. One is obviously going to be the competitive marketplace. So what are other people charging for information based on that topic already? That could be ebooks, PDFs, things like that. It could be other courses. That's going to come into play. What sort of value are you delivering to your students? So there's a big difference between a course that teaches someone a hobby like knitting and a course that teaches someone to day trade and possibly replace their full-time income with a new source of income. There's those are going to be priced very, very differently. And what is your time worth? You've got to remember that online courses, they are a lot of work. It's a lot of work to create and get off the ground. And you want to make sure that you're being paid for the time that you put into it. So we've got some resources on the blog that talk a bit about pricing, but it's tough to pin that down without knowing a specific topic or niche.
Yep. Another question here says, I have multiple courses. Is there a way to have the course title somewhere on the page? The website header is there, but I can't seem to figure out how to also have the name of the course at the top. So there's a way you can do this. Depending on how you have your course set up. What a lot of people do is they'll set up their course units and they'll have a sidebar. So WP Courseware actually has a widget that goes in the sidebar so that you can have a course outline or you can have navigation for your course. And within that widget, you can actually enable the course title. So that way they know that they're within the course. There's other ways to do this too. There's various templates for the course unit, which can be modified, but unfortunately that would take a little bit of development skill to do that. But there's definitely ways to add that to the top of the page. But the best way, I think, is just going with the widget. Also had another question here about the Logitech C920 software.
I saw that.
As being a problem for Catalina. Honestly, I'm using the C920. I've not had any issues, but I don't install the software. I don't install the Logitech software. It's a plug and play device, and it plugs right in and it works well. Now, I will say that on the Mac, there's this really cool app called Webcam Settings, and Webcam Settings can be downloaded from the App Store right on your Mac. And you can control all of the lighting, the zoom. You can even create like profiles as to how you want your camera to be set up. Like, for example, I have this white background and I have a specific camera setting for that. I also have a green screen that I use occasionally, and I have my lighting set up with webcam settings. But it's a really cool app and it works really well. But I've not had any issues with the C920 on Catalina. In fact, I've got the latest version.
That Ben, there's one of the next questions was about your microphone. I know we talked about it briefly, but what kind of mic are you using?
Yep. So this is a Blue Yeti microphone, and you'll see I've got it on a boom right now, and it's all the same brand. It's the Blue brand. So I've got it sitting on that. The shock mount is also by Blue. So this entire setup probably, I would say, costs maybe about $225, something like that. The reason I would recommend using the Blue branded boom is because it handles the weight of this microphone. This microphone is very heavy. And I don't recommend using the standard mount that this comes with, because it sits right on your desk, and any movement on your desk, clicking the mouse, typing on your keyboard, it's definitely going to go through that. So this setup here with the shock mount, it works really, really well. And I can adjust the mic. I can move it around up and down and do whatever I want with it. It works really well.
Great.
Let's see, next one here. So let's see here. Let's see here. So yeah, I had the question again, why should I keep my domain name apart from my web hosting company? So I'll just kind of repeat that. The only reason I recommend this is because if your web hosting company ever goes down, or you are unhappy with them and you don't like them anymore, you're going to have to do a domain transfer. And that's going to mean that you're going to probably have some downtime with your website. If you keep it separate, if you keep your registrar separate from your web hosting company, and your web hosting company, say, I don't know, they go under, they don't exist anymore. As long as you have a backup of your website, all you have to do is install that on a new web hosting company, and then redirect your CNAME or your name servers that we talked about to the new web hosting company, and your downtime is very minimal, very, very minimal. So I definitely recommend changing that. It's another question here. Do you need one domain name per course? Yeah. That all depends. It depends on your course. Now, there's some people that have, they're building kind of a catalog of courses that are somewhat related. And so all of those courses can be under the same domain name. If you're creating a specific branded course that's just kind of a one-off course, then yeah, absolutely. You can use just a single domain for something like that.
In most cases, it's going to come down to whether or not one course is going to help sell another course.
Yeah, so I had another question here, and I think I answered it, but just so I answered it again, somebody currently has, I guess, a course set up, and they're using the term modules instead of units. So they're just asking if they can change the labeling, and the answer is yes. So you can change the label of a unit to be whatever you want. It can be module or chapter, whatever you want it to be. We do give you some pre-canned options, but you can use the custom option and you can type whatever you want in there. Now, keep in mind, this is just for the labeling on the front end. You probably won't see the labeling on the back end change. You're still going to see module unit on the back end, but on the front end, people will see that term used if they're using the sidebar widget, or on the outline, you'll see that term used instead.
We have a question here. Courses, WP Courseware works on the basis of courses, modules, units. I have a pre-existing course divided into.
That's the one I just answered, I think, Nate.
Oh, was it? Sorry.
It's all good, man. They're all starting to come together.
Yeah, there's quite a few in here.
Oh,
this is a good one.
Okay.
How hard is it to add a course to a site that I already have set up?
Oh, well, it all depends. If you are already on WordPress, it's super easy. You install WP Courseware and you set up your course. If you are already set up with a different LMS, unfortunately, we don't have a way to get you easily connected over. Or if you're set up with a different, like, let's just say a SaaS LMS, there's no real easy way to import into that. WP Courseware will export and import into itself. But if you already have an existing site and it's WordPress, it's as easy as the demonstration that I showed for setting up your first online course.
Which sort of answers the next question. When you install a plugin, where do you find it?
So when you install a plugin, you're going to find it in the, well, when you install it, it's obviously going to be listed in your plugins page, your plugin listing. But plugins will have different menu options. Sometimes it will be on the very top menu on the sidebar there for WordPress. Sometimes it's going to be in the settings. So if you go and you put your mouse and you hover right over settings, you're going to have a little flyout menu, and in there you probably will find it. Now, there are some plugins that are just very one function specific, and they may not even have a menu option. So there's just different ways. It all depends on how it works, what the plugin author's intent is for the user interface and that sort of thing. So I had another question here. I was talking about Ninja Forms, and so they're asking, how do you add that to Beaver Builder? The cool thing with Ninja Forms and Beaver Builder is that Beaver Builder gives you an option to click and drag a Ninja form right into Beaver Builder. And that's one option. The other option is to add a text editor module, which is a rich text editor form that you'll see, and you can put in the short code. All a short code is just a small little snippet that is specified in Ninja Forms. It'll tell you this is a short code, and you can just copy and paste that right into the text editor. And that it knows when you save that and you publish the page, it knows to actually render that particular form.
Good question.
So I had a question here. This is pretty interesting. How interactive are all of these options? If you are hosting a class, how do the students participate? So WP Courseware is not designed to deliver a live course. So like we're delivering live training right now. It's actually designed to have or to deliver a pre-recorded or a pre-made, pre-canned, if you will, course to your students where they can take it in the leisure at their leisure, at their time, whenever they want. It's not a live session, so to speak. So the interactivity is not going to be there kind of like we're doing right now. There's no live interaction. However, the units on WP Courseware have the ability to enable comments. So your students could comment. Another option that people do on their website is they'll actually install a forum plugin and they'll create an online forum within their website where students can go and interact. In fact, that's exactly how me and Nate actually had our first introduction in a web forum in a specific course that we were taking together. And so that's actually how I met Nate.
Yeah.
Had a question here. What about using Cloudflare Stream for video hosting? WP Engine already has a plugin for that. Will WP Courseware work with this? Yeah, so you can use just about any CDN that you want, or any video hosting solution that you want, as long as they give you some format of an embed code. You have to have the ability to embed something. And if you have that option, you can put that on any course unit. You can put it on a WordPress post or even a page. But you can use any option that you want. The ones that we listed today, Nate talked about, those are really good options. There's obviously probably a whole bunch more out there, but as long as you have that embed code, you should be good to go.
Yeah.
So yeah, and again, we had this question, about uploading directly to WordPress, or do you need to have a separate video hosting? I always, and Nate already spoke to this, but I always recommend having a separate video hosting solution, only because your web host or your web host server is not engineered to deliver video. So if you were to upload that directly to your WordPress website, and you have, 2 people connect simultaneously to that video, their user experience is going to be horrible. They're going to experience buffering, and video might just stop. You might even crash the server. I don't know. But I always recommend having a separate video hosting option. Always, always, always.
Oh, iMovie and GarageBand. You
Yeah.
can use those.
Yeah.
Those are out of the box. Absolutely. Yeah. iMovie will work for editing video if you're comfortable with that and used to it. And GarageBand will certainly work for audio. We used to do podcasts with that way back in the day. But yeah, those will work.
Yeah, absolutely. I had somebody reach out. Her name's Allison. She said, "So nice to see you troubleshoot. Honestly, glitches happen all the time. So helpful to watch you figure it out." Yeah, and that's real, and that's reality. It's funny. I was just telling my wife about that. I'm like, if something happens, where I have to troubleshoot something or something goes wrong, it's kind of real. Like those are real things that happen. And so I'm not upset that it happened. Things like that happen, but you got to see me work through that. So it's just one of those things. You're going to run into those things, but yeah, just work through it.
Yeah. What if a person is not very technical?
Yeah. So, again, it's what you're comfortable with. I'm really comfortable with playing and tinkering with things. And so for me, something like this, even if I wasn't, a WordPress, person, I would probably play with it until I get it. I'd watch YouTube videos. I would research, just because I like doing that kind of thing. If you're not comfortable with that, if you're not comfortable with technology, if you're not comfortable with, trying to figure out how to do it, honestly, you're going to save a lot of time if you just have somebody do it for you. But again, this is based on your budget, your comfort level. There's a lot of aspects to that. So I would recommend, play with it, use the recommendation I gave for local by WP Engine. You can tinker with WordPress a lot there. It's a great little product. It's free. You can spin up WordPress websites, as many as you want, and you can play with it. And it's all local on your computer. It's not live on the internet, and it allows you to get, you get to know WordPress a little bit better. So I highly recommend that. It's a great tool. Here's another question, Nate, if you want to handle this one.
Sure.
It says S3 Media Maestro video is hosted on a web server like Vimeo, but using the plugin, can you embed the video right on the course rather than using the link to the video server? They're just trying to understand it.
Yeah. So typically, so Amazon S3 works. You could think of it as working sort of like a Vimeo or Wistia. Your video is there on their platform, and you're going to embed it on your website. With S3 Media Maestro, typically what you would have to do is go to AWS and get a link to that media file, bring it back and place it into a media player on your WordPress website. With S3 Media Maestro, it's going to use Amazon's API to tie in directly to your S3 account and the specific bucket where you're storing that video. And it will allow you just to drop the player wherever you want it. Just like with Gutenberg blocks, you can drop an S3 Media Maestro block anywhere on a page, and it's going to reach out to AWS and grab your video and place it in a player according to your specs.
Awesome. So somebody asked if there's a way to test the speed of a hosting company. I mean, what you can do, I mean, there's speed tests out there for your website. As far as testing the speed of the actual hosting company, I'm not sure if there's an actual test for that. You can use a site like GTmetrix, which gives you a pretty good idea. It's going to be a little hard on your site. Like, honestly, you're going to go and you're going to get graded like, it's like A, B, C, D, F, you know, you're going to get graded like a C or a D. And it's like, oh man, my site's slow. But there's a lot of things that go into making a site fast. And I mean, you can do all the caching in the world you want. You can have solid state drives and all of these things. You can have good internet bandwidth. But if your page has, you know, images that are ginormous, you know, that you've not compressed, you know, then your site's going to load slow no matter what you do. So what I recommend is, yeah, you can use a site like GTmetrix, and you can test out the site. But what I would really recommend is use, there's a service out there, it's called TinyPNG or tinyjpg.com. And you can compress your images so that before you upload your images to your site, they're compressed. They still look good, but they're compressed so that the load time will be faster on your website. So before you upload, just run it through that. It's really easy. You click and drag it. There's a little panda bear that does the thinking, and then you download it. It's pretty neat.
Or if you're using, you can use Google PageSpeed too.
Okay, yeah, that's another option. Yep, good. Any suggestions on the sales funneling system, program, software, service that ultimately sends folks to your course site? It's a great question. Mm-hmm. This is probably a whole webinar in and of itself.
We should do that.
Nate, do you want to have? Yeah, we should. Do you have any comments on that, Nate?
How to build a funnel? I guess it's really going to depend on it. You're going to come at it from two different angles. Either you have an audience or you don't. If you have an audience through blogging, or you've just been building a list for a while, you're farther along in that process of building trust and authority with a potential customer than you are if you're just starting out. So the two are going to be a little bit different, but primarily I'd say no matter which route you're going to go, if you have an email list of 100,000 people, or if you're just starting to build an audience, build trust first. Give away your authority, your time, your knowledge for free, and show people that you know what you're talking about and that you truly want to help them in some way. And eventually, once they find out that you have a course through your awesome funnel process and email series, they'll come to you as the expert.
Yeah, the flip side to that, I mean, that's great, because that's creating organic interest in your product, which is always a good thing. But on the flip side to that, if you really just want quick and fast results, you can always turn to like paid advertising, Facebook ads, Google ads, LinkedIn ads, that kind of thing, and that will drive traffic immediately to your site. But what Nate said is part of the sales funnel, and that's the interest level of the funnel. That's where people are coming in. They're getting to know your brand. That's very important, because you're gonna have to take them from that point to where they're getting to know you to where the point where they trust you. And the only way that they're gonna trust you is if you're giving away, you know, free information. You know what you're talking about. You're representing yourself as an authority in your space, and then eventually you're going to get that sale. But you have to take them through the funnel. And I think we just had some more comments like, hey, we should have a webinar on funnels for courses.
Like
here was another really good question. Somebody asked, it was Karen. She asked, is Beaver Builder the only tool to use to customize my course? No. Beaver Builder is a great option. It's my favorite option, but you can use so many other options. WP Courseware works with any theme. I don't think we've ever run into a theme that it's not compatible with. So you can use it with any theme. There's a lot of other page builders. There's Elementor, there's Divi. There's really good products out there that will allow you to build your WordPress website theme. And so WP Courseware is just a plugin, and it will match up with whatever your theme is telling it to do. It's all based on CSS, cascading style sheets, and that kind of thing. So it'll match what you're doing as far as text is concerned and colors and that kind of thing. WP Courseware also has an option. I didn't get to demo that, but there's an option to use the customizer to customize the colors of WP Courseware as far as buttons are concerned and backgrounds of, on-screen messaging and that kind of thing. So really good question. Beaver Builder is just our favorite, but you can use anything you want.
Absolutely.
Somebody asked again about it being recorded. Yeah, this is definitely being recorded. And we're going to have the link I'm going to actually upload this up onto Facebook. And what I can do, I can also send out an email with the direct URL to the YouTube channel to those of you that signed up. So I can do that later on today as well. So good questions. Had a couple more questions here. I don't want to not answer these because I did answer them already directly on YouTube chat, but for those of you that aren't directly on YouTube. So somebody asked if WP Courseware integrates with Wishlist Member. Yes, it does integrate with Wishlist Member. In fact, I had a meeting with Tracy Childers from Wishlist, I believe it was earlier this year. And I believe that Wishlist now has built-in integration for WP Courseware. So it's not a separate plugin, although you're going to see our separate plugin on the WordPress repository. We probably need to remove that at some point. Another question, is WP Courseware a learning management system? Yes, WP Courseware is a full-blown learning management system. It will help you to manage not only courses, but students, grade books. And one thing that we recently did with WP Courseware, which is really cool, is we had it integrated with Grassblade, which is an LRS solution. So your course can now be, well, it used to be, what is it, tin can compliant. Now it's SCORM compliant. Yeah. So you can, your course can now be run with an LRS, which is really cool. Can you translate the plugin? Yes, there's two methods to that. You can do it the manual way. We do provide a translation template file with WP Courseware, which you can take and you can pull that into your template editor or something like Poedit. Or you can use a plugin like Loco Translate, which I highly recommend. I love Loco Translate. In fact, I have a video on our YouTube channel on how you can do that with Loco. Had another question here. It says, so this is similar to Paid Memberships Pro software plugin for WordPress. Not really. So WP Courseware is really a learning management system. It's only for online courses, delivering online courses, selling online courses, managing students' courses. Paid Memberships Pro is specifically a membership plugin. So people that want to create content, pages, posts, just regular content, and they want to put it behind a membership wall. That's what Paid Memberships Pro does. However, I will say this, we do have integration with Paid Memberships Pro. We have integration with just about all the mainstream membership plugins that are out there, because a lot of people like to add online courses to their membership plans. It's very complimentary, so it's part of their membership, listing or feature listing. So we do have integration, which is really good. Can you configure individual page or course pages? Yes. Mm-hmm. So we do offer the ability to, when you create a course, it automatically creates a course page by default. And that's running off a template that comes with WP Courseware. But if you want to create your own custom page, you probably want to do like a long sales copy page, really nice page with images and all that stuff. You can do that because we have the enrollment button shortcode, and we also have the outline shortcode that you can put on page so that you can show various aspects of your course. But yeah, you can definitely do that. You can either use the pre-canned one, or you can create your own page?
Good question.
Somebody asked this one, and see what your thoughts are, Nate. I already answered it, but would it be good to host your videos in Google Drive?
I don't think so.
Yeah. And that's my take on it too. I don't think Google Drive is going to be optimized for watching video. It's more of a storage solution for storing files, although that's what S3 technically is. But I feel like you'd be better off with another solution like Amazon S3.
I tried it not long ago from Dropbox, and it was definitely not the best experience.
Had a really good question here. What's the difference between WP Courseware and Articulate? So Articulate, and yeah, I'll cover a couple things here. So Articulate is a specific software, I believe it's put out by Adobe, that will spit out an online course that you can actually upload to your server, to your web server. So I think it's a series of like HTML files and images and that kind of stuff. So there's a couple of things with regard to WordPress. Natively, you can't just upload that to WordPress in and of itself, because it's just not how WordPress functions. However, I've seen plugins that will allow you to upload that content through the plugin itself. It's like an Articulate plugin or Storyline plugin or something like that. And you can take that zip file of that archive file of a course that Articulate produces, and you upload that to your WordPress site, and you can display that somewhere on your site. Have I tested that? I may have tested it a long time ago. I don't remember specifically how it works. But I also will say this, since WP Courseware is now LRS integrated, it's very similar, because I know a lot of people use Articulate for that very purpose, because it interacts with an LRS. But now WP Courseware has that functionality, and so you can use WP Courseware. WP Courseware is really just the real difference is it's meant to be on WordPress, and so you can deliver your online course on WordPress, and I think that's kind of the main difference. But all good questions. Anything else over here? Says if I have wish list and the WP Courseware plugin, if you remove that, will it mess up my existing course setup? Well, if you have WP Courseware installed and you've created your course with WP Courseware and you remove it, your course will not function anymore. Your data does not get destroyed. However, your data stays in the database. If you were to take out WP Courseware, delete it, deactivate it and delete it, your data stays on the server. So it's not gone. You can just simply upload WP Courseware back up again and your data is still there. So I'm not sure if that quite answers your question or not, but yeah, good question. Well, I think that's all the questions, Nate. Wow, awesome. we went pretty long. It was a good webinar. I appreciate everybody who joined us. Nate, did you have anything else you wanted to mention?
I don't think so. Thanks for being patient, everyone, and yeah, for joining us. We've been looking forward to this one. Yep.
Well, cool, guys. Just again, you'll see the recording for this. So if you want to rewatch, by all means, do that. Really want to thank you guys for watching. Again, don't forget WP Courseware S3 Media Maestro 40% off. Click the link below, and hopefully we can have communication with you through our support desk at some point or something like that. Or if not, maybe a future webinar. So anyway, thank you guys all for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we will see you guys in the next webinar. Thanks for watching, guys.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
See ya.